The New Orleans Secular Humanists Association welcomes everyone who's interested in exploring ideas from the humanist, non-religious perspective.
For me, secular humanism is a philosophy for living and learning. Secular humanists use science and reason to understand the universe and solve human problems.
As a non-religious person, I cannot accept supernatural answers to life's questions. Secular humanists confine their search for the truth to the natural world.
Some of my highest goals in life are expressed in human secularism. To enjoy life in the here and now, and to strive for moral excellence.
We believe in striving for the best and noblest that is possible in human beings.
These viewpoints reflect our philosophy, which applies to all aspects of our lives. Each of our programs will try to apply reason to various interesting topics and show how this approach differs from the dogma of non-humanist thinking. Hello again, and thanks for watching our program. I'm Harry Greenberger, and I'm the host of this show. Very recently, I was watching a television program which was a celebration of the 50th anniversary of the publication of Ayn Rand's book, Atlas Shrugged. Having been a long-time admirer of Ayn Rand and of that book, I thought it would be interesting to have someone on our show who could talk to us on that subject. So I did what all the young people in this country know how to do better than I do. I Googled Ayn Rand / New Orleans, Atlas Shrugged / New Orleans, Objectivism / New Orleans, and whatever I did, I came up with the same name, Dr. Walter Block, who is our guest here today. Joining us on our panel today are two of the NOSHA members whom you have seen in the past, Dave Schultz and Lanny Goldfinch. But I particularly want to welcome Dr. Block to our show, and I'd like to tell you just a little bit about his background. He at this time is a professor at Loyola University here in New Orleans. He got his PhD in economics from Columbia University back in 1972. And going sort of from that date forward, he was assistant professor of economics at Baruch College in New York, assistant professor of economics at Rutgers University in New Jersey, senior economist and director of the Fraser Institute in Vancouver, Canada, associate professor, economics department of the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts, professor and chair of the Department of Economics and Finance of the University of Central Arkansas, and from 2001 to the present time, he's professor of economics and holder of the Harold E. Wirth Eminent Scholar Chair in Economics, College of Business Administration, Loyola University in New Orleans. Now, having said all that about you,
dyed-in-the-wool intellectual, aren't you?
And it doesn't say here, what your connection might be with Atlas Shrugged and Ayn Rand and Objectivism, but tell us about that.
Well, when I was a senior in Brooklyn College, I'm Jewish, or at least of Jewish parentage. I'm an atheist. I was a left liberal, which is almost a redundancy because all Jewish liberal Brooklynites were left-wingers. And Ayn Rand came to Brooklyn College to lecture, and I came to boo and hiss her because she favored capitalism, and capitalism was evil. Because if you had free enterprise, you'd have starvation, and babies would be dying in the streets, and it would be just horrible. So I came and I booed and hissed, and I didn't get enough booing and hissing because at the end of the lecture, they announced that there would be a luncheon in her honor, and anyone could come, even if you agreed or disagreed. And I came to do some more fighting because I wanted to get her because she was just pure evil. And they were sitting in this long, long table. Ayn Rand was at the head of the table, Nathaniel Branden, Alan Greenspan, Leonard Peikoff, and all the top Randians. And I was relegated to the foot of the table, and I turned to my neighbor and I said, what is this capitalist crap? It's all wrong, it's evil, it's monstrous, we have to have socialism. And he turned to me and he said, well, I don't really know because I'm new to this too, but the people that do know are at the other end of the table. So I went and I stuck my head between Ayn's and Nathan's, and I said, there's a socialist that wants to debate you, someone on capitalism. And they said, who is it? And I said, it's me. And Nathaniel Branden was very kind, and he said, okay, I'll come and I'll debate you. I'll come to the other end of the table where there's room. There's no room here, on two conditions. One, that you don't let the conversation lapse after this one luncheon. And two, you read two books, but continue this dialogue until we come to a conclusion, one way or the other. And secondly, that you read two books that I'll now recommend to you. And one was Atlas Shrugged, and one was Economics in One Lesson by Henry Hazlitt. Now, I was a philosophy major up until then, and that turned me around in two ways. I became interested in economics, and I also became a libertarian because I was converted by, I would go to Nathaniel's apartment or Ayn Rand's apartment, and Alan Greenspan was there. This is before he was the head of the Fed. And after 3 or 4 sessions, I became converted to free enterprise and libertarian economics.
And you have not been unconverted since that time?
No, not at all. I read Atlas Shrugged. It's about 1,100 pages, a very small type. I couldn't put it down. It just sort of, it was a very edifying experience. I must have read it just in one weekend, and I've read it every decade since then. So I read it when I was maybe 22 as a senior in college, 32, 42, 52, 62. Every 10 years I read it, I get something new out of it. I think it's the most magnificent book ever written. That is novel anyway. And I'm a big fan of it. I'm not an objectivist, but I certainly am a free market economist.
Well, I do have a question because you mentioned libertarianism, and without the capital L, it just means that people should have the right to live lives as they choose with a minimum amount of government influence, and so long as they're not preventing other people from living their libertarian lives.
I think that's a very good short encapsulated version, libertarianism.
And that is not the same as the philosophy that Ayn Rand produced called objectivism. What is that difference?
Well, think of a Venn diagram where there's an overlap, and here's objectivism and here's libertarianism. They overlap on economics. They both favor laissez-faire capitalism. Now, objectivism includes a lot of things other than that. For example, they have views on epistemology, metaphysics, aesthetics, logic, all sorts of other things, which don't really interest me that much. I went to the NBI, the Nathaniel Branden Institute seminars, and I sort of was on the periphery of it. I was never in the inner circle because I didn't really like the rest of it. It didn't grab me. I mean, she had this view that Brahms was better than Mozart, and that somehow this was the essence of objectivism. And I
well, he is better than Mozart.
No. Mozart is better.
No!
I can prove this.
Wagner's better than Mozart.
No, Mozart is 3.2 times better than... See, I'm 3.2 times better than Brahms by my calculation.
Mozart's where I start counting.
Okay.
Well, this is supposed to be a very amiable group.
It is an amiable. We're being very amiable. Let me ask you this.